Welcome to the Wander Podcast. I'm your host, Gracie Hins. If you're new here, we are a podcast dedicated to sharing the stories of people in the outdoor spaces and places that we all love, including creatives and athletes and anybody that I really think just has a unique and interesting story. I am so excited to bring you guys today's episode with Courtney Coppinger. She is coming from Boulder, Colorado by way of Kansas, Flagstaff, and Santa Barbara, and I am seriously just so excited about this episode. I feel like I've quasi known her for 6 months, and then we ran into each other at World Trail Running Championships, and I was like, oh my goodness, we need to sit down and podcast. And this was genuinely just the most lovely episode, getting to chat about her year as a whole. She signed with Brooks this last year, and it's just been really cool to see how everything in life is kind of perfectly woven together for her. She also just finished 10th in the Golden Trail World Series, which is the most competitive shorter distance trail running competitions in the world. She ran at World Trail Running Championships. I just feel like this episode got into so many different fun aspects of who Courtney is, including talking a little bit about Wild Stride Paper Co., the coaching collective that she's a part of, and then also Sometimes Pizza, which is the pizza pop-up that she has helped facilitate and build in Boulder, which just brings a lot more fun and spunk to everything else that is involved with it. So anyways, without further ado, here is today's conversation. Well, sweet. Excited to chat. I don't know if you've listened to any of these, but my first question that I always ask everybody is the same thing, and it is the question of who are you and what do you spend your time doing?
Great question. Like a heavy hitter right off the bat. Let's see. My name is Courtney Coppinger. I am in Boulder, Colorado. So I spend a lot of time doing pretty Boulder things. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm super unique in that. I kind of just fall into the Boulder trap, which is an amazing trap to fall into. Um, but recently I've also been traveling a lot. So doing a lot of cool Boulder things, running, riding, scrambling, honestly, trying to invest in the community more. I think this community has a lot to offer. Hosting. I'm a really big host. Love hosting. Reading. Been big into reading recently. Um, and when I'm not doing all that, I'm traveling the world and competing and trail.
That was a really good answer to that question. Okay, one of the things that I've totally been meaning to ask you about is your pizza nights,
Mm,
because you've had a couple of them and
yes.
they look so rad. And every
Mhm.
time I see that, I'm like, I should just I feel like I should just have a reason to be in Boulder and go to one of these.
You should. Okay, well, first off, you should come and stay because there's so much room in our house. We love hosting people, hence the hosting, hence the pizza night, all this stuff, community building, all the things. So you're always welcome. You're always invited. Um, but yeah, oh my gosh, I am so happy that the second question you asked is what is sometimes pizza because this is the type of podcast that I need to be on. This is great. Um, okay, so what Gracie's referring to is this idea that we created this year called Sometimes Pizza. Where did this come from? Well, when I moved to Colorado last August, I lived in a house in Golden with two other guys. Um, one of them is Luke Webster, who maybe you know because he's kind
Yes.
of in the photo world. Okay. The other one is Sam Delgado. And Sam Delgado is, I would say, a really big community runner, community builder and runner in the Front Range area, but he's also a chef. And he's dabbled in bakery and fine dining in the past and is trying to connect all his dots. And Sam and Luke and I became really close, all living together. And we started doing, basically, Luke found a used uni pizza oven on Facebook Marketplace. And we just started randomly hosting pizza hangs at our house. And we had this massive backyard that was extremely overgrown and just so wild. And but it had a picnic table and we just had people over and the hangs were always really good. Our three personalities together hosted really well. And yeah, so we it kind of all started way back in that regard. And then I moved to Boulder in July and Sam had some more job changes and kind of got to the point where Sam, me and my partner Alex, now new character into the story, we're all sitting around and chatting, and we were like, how cool would it be to really push for this pizza thing, like a backyard pizza hang, as something that is building community, um, as something that we could invest in as a business, as something that we can see where it could go specifically in the running world or adventure world, whatever. So we just like looked around at each other and we're like, should we just make this business? Like, should we just do it? And Sam was like, "Yep, I'll do the pizzas." And I was like, "Yep, I'll do the social media and marketing." And Alex was like, "Yep, I'll do the financials and the business like design." And so we just like ran with it. And so what was started as like a backyard pizza hang in Golden ended up being now like more formalized backyard pizza hangs in Boulder where we sell pizzas out of the backyard. But we also are doing like collaborations with like podcasts and group runs and trying to like get Sam's business into like more of the catering scene. So I'm not sure if you are aware of like Addie Bracy's lodge in like this area. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's cooked for, he's, like, done that kind of model down there at their adventure lodge during, like, the Leadville weekends or whatever, and, we've done a Boulder Boys podcast group run and pizza hang in Boulder, and so that's the idea, is, like, how can we add pizza into these fun events and bring people together? Boulder is a place where there's so many pockets of people, and us 3 are so inclined to hosting and bringing people together from all different places of our life, so we were like, "Let's just do it." So, that's kind of the long story long of that. And, like, ultimately, I think it'd be cool to grow it into, like, a full-time sustainable business that Sam can own and manage and Alex and I help, but for now, it's just a really fun side project.
Dude, that's sick. Like, those are the kind of things that I just get so excited about because it's like, in, it could seem slightly random, but then it makes so much sense. And it's also just like, what are those little things that you can bring to something that's already happening that just like elevates it even more? Or like the Boulder Boys, like run and podcast, it's like, that is the most perfect thing to add to it because it just like it invites people in a different way where it's like, okay, it's running and podcasting and there's this like really cool other element to it as well, and it's
Yeah.
pizza. It's like you can't not be excited about homemade pizza.
Yeah, it's so true, and we, we're thinking, "Okay, just gonna be, like, a handful of, like, people from this part of my life and this part of your life," or whatever, and let me tell you, the first 2 nights that we did it, we had, like, 2 or 3 completely random people buy the pizza online, show up at our door, and we were like, "We're sorry,
Who
who
are
are
you?
you?" And they're like, "Oh, we saw this on whatever," and we were like, okay, crazy. They're all runners that are showing up, and so it's cool to be like, "Okay, cool. Do you want friends? Do you wanna go on a group run? Do you wanna do this?" And so, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where we can take it, given, like, we've put more time and investment into it. It's not something that's just gonna happen overnight, but
Yeah, but the seeds are there and it's growing.
mhm, yeah.
Yeah. Where were you at before you were in Golden and Boulder?
Um, so I had a brief I mean, it's kind of should I work backwards or forwards? I'll work I am from Kansas, and I grew up in Kansas. I went to school at the University of Kansas. I graduated there and moved to Flagstaff, Arizona. Lived in Flagstaff from 2018 to 2021, then moved to Santa Barbara, California, 2021 to early 2024, and then last year went back to Flagstaff for like 6 months before deciding what my next move was. And that ultimately was Colorado.
Okay, so then I'm assuming that also kind of like weaves into everything this year because this is your first year with Brooks, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then, if I'm getting the story correct, it was you were doing a lot of steeplechase. Is that right? It was like that was kind of like the entryway.
Yeah,
Let's
ish.
give me the rundown of Courtney's running career.
Okay, yeah, back to Kansas then.
Yes.
I ran at the University of Kansas, was an All-American steeplechaser, and then had the opportunity to run professionally in Flagstaff for a handful of years. And then COVID times happened, and I basically got super burnt out of the track, ended up kind of like shifting into just like doing more adventures and like absorbing the mountains. Like I am from the Midwest and like I do not have mountains that run deep into my blood. Like that point in my life in 2020 was like, "Oh, wait, there's a whole world out here. Let me go explore it." And so from like 2020 really to like 2024, there was a lot of life that needed to happen and figure out. And I basically did this whole thing where I would be like, oh, I'm going to train for 100K and go do that. Okay, I'm going to train for a steeplechase and go do that. Just like a big like yes moments. But I was reflecting on it recently, and I can confidently say I don't think I was training like at a professional level, but I wasn't training at a recreational level either. I think there's like some in between there. Um, and then, like, a part of that too, I was going through a lot of, like, personal mental health stuff. I was in a bad relationship that I ended up having to leave come early 2024, which now puts you at this last year and 2 of my life, which makes a lot of sense because kinda got through all that processing and all of that, and then got launched into 2025 with, like, huge new beginnings with Brooks and Colorado and all the things, so
What was it about, like, trail and, like, really the mountains that I don't know, like, what was kind of, like, the initial curiosity of it? Was it more just
mm.
like, "Oh, like, I really like, I love this landscape, I wanna just spend a lot of time in it," or was it like, "This is just a different medium in which I can be running," or, like, what was kind of that first curiosity point?
Yeah, I think it was more the latter actually, because of being from the Midwest and being really track focused for a long time, I felt just like super burnt out mentally of like I remember going to the sound running tour that was like a professional only meet in 2020 during peak COVID times. And I raced like two 1500s back to back weekends and like had big, like, races for my career. I PR'd in both of them, and I came off of them, and I was like, "I don't feel anything." Like, I feel numb. Like, I don't wanna race anymore. I don't wanna train anymore. It's not fun. And, then that started, like, my break from running, but then in the middle of that break from running, I was like, "Wait, maybe I do wanna keep running, but it just looks different." And then that led me to like 4 days after running these 1500s and just sitting on my butt, I was like, "I'm gonna go and run this, like, crazy segment in the mountains," and I've never done this long or never done this far and, was super had 1 gel and just, like, went for it and, like, finished that, and I think that one day really opened the door to being like, "Oh, I think running is still gonna be there, but I think you have to rework your relationship with it." Um and I think for a long time, I was like, running is track, running is road races. And that makes sense. Like, I'm from the Midwest. I didn't grow up around that. And, even in the US, it's fairly new and it's catching a lot of fire now. Um, and so I think I was just like massively exposed to this other medium that I could use running as an outlet to process a lot of things, feel more intentionally aligned with myself, and then ultimately like get competitive again.
Well, and at that time too, because Flagstaff and then what was the Santa Barbara like, what was the incentive for moving to Santa Barbara?
That was a past partner's job that took us there, and, but Santa Barbara is, like, a huge trail community too. Obviously, Deckers is out of Santa Barbara, so Hoka, Teva, that big company, and so there's, like, a really big presence of trail running there, and that's where I, like, started getting into, like, the longer ultra stuff was just I mean, my whole story has really been, like, so closely connected with, like, the running community and the people I've been around, and so it was just that moment there was more like leaning into what people were doing and being excited about new opportunities and how long can I run and can I run a 60-mile race in Mexico and survive? Answer is barely.
What was the first trail race that you did?
In Arizona, after my track or maybe it was, like, somewhere in between my track times. I think I had randomly jumped into, like, a small Viper race down in Arizona. They put those on,
Mm.
like, all the time, and they're really great races,
I swear
and
there's,
they're
like, a
really
new
great races.
Air race that I didn't know about that I, like, hear about, like, every day. I'm
Yeah,
like,
there's
"Oh, I
so
didn't know they
many,
were doing that."
and they're, like, usually very, like, runnable, like, they're usually easier for, like, a road person to go into them because it's usually, like, Phoenix area trails, which are, like, fun, fast trails. So yeah, I jumped into a handful of those, but I think the first one I actually trained for was a 50K, an Air Viper race, the McDowell Mountain 50K, which was like in December. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I literally the last race I ran was like 3K and now I'm doing 30 miles. So this crazy how quickly I just like jumped up into all those longer stuff, and glad I'm now settled back on the sub ultra stuff because I needed to taste the ultra world and realize it might not be for me right now.
That's what I was just wondering. So did like what was the farthest distance that you ended up like properly racing?
I ran in 2022. I ran the Puerto Vallarta 100K, the Bayou
Holy
UTMB race.
cow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, that's proper distance. Yeah, I don't think I did not know any of that about your background because I'm like, yeah, now looking especially at this year, like you've like settled so much more into the shorter races, which you do so good at.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I found my niche back into that. I feel like that is just like my pendulum was like swinging massively of
totally.
like kind of just like filling whatever need I was going after. And again, I wasn't training like at super professional level or taking it super seriously. It was more just like testing and challenging like myself.
Yeah, exploring, figuring out what's
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then this year, I'm so excited to dive into a bit of this year. How did, well, first of all, how did the whole Brooks conversation and like how did that kind of come about for you? Like
Mm.
were they on your radar or like when you were looking at 2024, like what were you, yeah, how did the story on that?
Yeah, such a good story. So 2024, I basically stopped running. I I have famously gone through like 2 or 3 running retirements in my life where I'd taken like a handful of months just like doing other things and not caring about running and like telling other people I've retired and everyone laughing because like, "Oh, you're gonna come back to it." They were all right. But yeah, into 2024, basically wasn't running. I had jumped into, I don't know, a race like or the Javelina 30K. Like ran that for fun because it was like the night race where you dress up in Halloween costume. And then after that in October, just like did not run for the rest of the year. And I told my roommates at the time, I was like, I'm having my hot girl Denver moment where I would sign up for I had like class pass and I would sign up for all these like fitness classes like berries and orange theory and random like weightlifting classes where you like wear like matching sets and like try
Yeah.
to like,
Hot girl
be
Denver moment. Uh-huh.
so I was doing those classes where like the berries, I mean, I'll give it to them on this part, like, you do run like 2 to 3 miles of intervals, like, at
Yeah.
all out. Like, you basically just go into this room where you're just getting, like, lit up by strobe lights and thinking you're already having a seizure and then told to basically run all out for 2 to 3 miles to this, like, amazing, like, house music and then immediately shift onto the bench and, like, lift as much weight as possible, and so, yeah, that was kind of where I was at, and amidst all that, I mean, I'm just a big believer in, like a higher power and, like, the universe has a plan for me, and amidst all of that, I get this email from Adam Chase, who is a Boulder local. He's been termed the, trail uncle of the Brooks team, the uncle of the Brooks Trail team more so. And he reached out and was like, "Hey, I heard you're new to the Front Range. I'd love to meet with you and see how your running's going or whatever." And like truly, like I thought I was meeting with him to like I thought he was gonna connect me with like running buddies or like a running group or something. And I'm sitting there, having coffee with him, and he's basically pitching me this idea of joining Brooks. And I had no idea of this. And I was, like, so forthcoming with him. I was like, "I need you to know that, like, yes, my running has been, like, all over the place, and I also am not gonna be like, I'm the girl that's gonna go win worlds or win UTMB, but, like, I can bring team energy and the lessons I've learned in my career on the track and my trail dabblings, and I can bring us like a source of light wisdom. I'm not that old, like I'm not right out of college. And so I was just like really honest with him. I was like, yeah, this is kind of where I'm at. I don't know where my running's gonna go. And but I do love being a part of something bigger. And so given that, I think there could be some opportunity to kind of see where it would go if it was the right thing. And I was also, like, really looking for something that was, like, a low level, kind of buy-in contract, whereas, like, I'm not set with a company at a certain price for a long time, like, it was more of, like, a development role of, like, "Okay, whatever," and, he and I chatted, and I was honest, and then he took it back to the marketing team when they went to, like, TRE, and he came back to me, and was like, "We wanna meet with you and move this forward," and I was like, "This is crazy." I'm here still, like, gaslighting myself being like, "It's not gonna happen, like, no way," like, I don't know. I don't think that Javelina 31K performance was much, but maybe something in me, and, around that time, Grace and Rachel and I were starting our, coaching collective company too, and so that was really cool. That it was a piece that I shared to Adam, and I think that he saw a lot of value in that too, of like, "Oh, okay, you're doing more than just, like, running, like, you actually have some well-roundedness to you and some drive to, like, push that somewhere," and, like, especially, like, my community builder piece, I, like, definitely brought that into it, and basically, yeah, ended up having this conversation with Brooks, and they were, like, on the spot, like, "We'd love to have you on the team and bring you on as, like, in slightly like a developmental mentor role." And like to me that was perfect. I was like low hanging fruit, low stakes, like amazing. And so I was so excited and signed it and was stoked, and then like 3 days later it hit me as like I got to start running. I got to start getting back into shape. I just signed this contract. Go up to team camp in March and be like, "Yeah, I just go to Barry's classes."
That's rad. Well, and at this point too, like had you been like had Golden Trail been on your radar? Was that ever something that you were thinking of? Was that something that they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in that?" Or like, yeah, when
No,
like that conversation was
no.
happening, like what was it like what was kind of the race conversation?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have like they had highlighted a handful of races that they put out a list of their races they were highlighting for the year, right? So it included Sunapee, Kodiak, Golden Trail, yada yada yada. Like, and that came like February, March. I was still in December being like, oh my gosh, I have to start running again. And so, like, come January, that was when I hired my coach. And I think that was also really pivotal too in my story of like, okay, if I have Brooks like saying they want to be like on my team, like I also need like to have a coach to like guide me, because if left on my own accord, I will just sign up for Barry's classes and not take the running seriously. I'm like not the type A, type 1 runner at all, and that's very rare. And like I'm not even saying this as a disguise. Like I know there's people out there that are like, I'm type A, but disguised as type B. It's like, no, I'm like fully B, maybe, B plus. Sometimes I have a little bit of A-ness, but I'm pretty relaxed and also like just extrinsically motivated rather than intrinsically motivated. And so I was also had to make a really important decision of like, okay, if I'm going to do this, give myself this year, let's bring on a new coach, enter Matt Daniels, new character into the story. And then Matt and I sat down and talked about things, and like the idea for the year, I was like, I want to have fun. I have this 1 year to kind of see where it can go. Um, and I just like want to have fun and train again, maybe at a higher level that I haven't been in the past for the trails. Because I feel like I've restarted my life in Colorado and have some sense of peace and calmness in my life now that I could allow like a next level of training to come in and stack on top of that. And then I also said, but at the same time, I really want to have 0 expectations and 0 nerves this whole year. And so, like, if I can achieve that year by not by racing and not having those, then it's a big win for me. Um, yeah, and so that was kind of where we started. And then I think another really key moment in my story is I was at the time working in technology, working for Slack, the messaging app that's owned by
Okay.
Salesforce, and
Yeah.
I had a really cush tech job for a handful of years, and I ended up the best thing happened. I got laid off in February and got 8 months of severance, and it was another, like yeah, it was like
That's
another, like,
amazing.
shining star to me that was like, "If you're not gonna go after running this year, like, you're dumb. Like, go after it. Like, you have the Brooks, you have Matt, you have now a whole year paid for, so go do it. And so that's when the Golden Trail series stuff came about because I was like, "Wait, I could go to Asia. I could go and do these things." And also, like, I hadn't been racing on the scene at all, and so I had to be pretty strategic in what races I picked because I couldn't get into all the races. So,
Right.
yeah.
What were some of them that you couldn't get into right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, like, I begged my way into the Golden Trail stuff, that's for sure. I had, like, all the strings being pulled for me of, like, "Let her in." Like, we my coach and Adam, all these people are like, "We do think she'll be, like, able to compete with people, let her into the races."
'Cause with Golden Trail, is it just 30 people that you or
Well,
I'm trying to
so
remember.
they there's obviously the series that they come out with, and then there's,
Right.
like, the really key races that they'll keep every year. So, for instance, I couldn't get into Broken Arrow because I hadn't, like, done anything, and I missed the deadline to sign up on my own. I ended up
Oh,
actually
okay.
getting in. I didn't end up going, but, basically begging my way by saying, "Hey, I have a few performances under my belt now, can I get in?" But I couldn't get into Broken Arrow, I can't get into Sears and Knowles, Zagama, all of that, like, no way. Um, and so I had to work with that, and even, like, the Bayou TMB races, a lot of them were already full or, um yeah, so it was like a puzzle piece of, like, where what let's, like, sign up for as much as we can and kind of, like, finagle a schedule that feels right to you.
Mhm. 'Cause what was the first race that you did this year?
So, I ended up getting into these Asia Golden Trail races, and I was like, "Full send." Like, I just got laid off of work. I've never been to Asia. Somebody asked me the other day why I chose those races, and my answer was because I'd never been to Asia. Like,
Yeah, that's a
I
great
wanted to go
answer.
to Japan and China, like, and
Yeah,
if I had the means to and the time,
why
yeah.
not?
So I
Yeah.
raced, the Japan race actually. So Kobe in
Okay,
April,
right,
and
yeah.
after in April, the Great Wall race, which were hilarious first races because they were by far the hardest races I had probably ever done other than that 100K, so
Mhm. Well, and how did those go? Like, after I mean, like, from kind of your goal of, like, "Okay, we're keeping nerves low, stress low, this is fun." Like, how did those kind of fall into that? Yeah, kind of being, like, almost like the first trial ones.
yeah, really well, actually. They were, like, really conducive for that because I framed the Asia trip as, like, I'm going on a trip to Asia, and I'm gonna go race and have fun doing that, but, like, the end goal was, like, I got to go to Asia, and that's really sick. It wasn't like I have to go to Asia to race, um, and so I remember and especially Kobe, like, it is a really difficult course and a really hard race to race in April, for most people. It's like 12 miles and, like, 8,000 feet of climbing. So
Ooh,
it's hiking for, like,
wow.
3 to
That's
4
proper.
hours in
Mhm.
heat, humidity, rocks, like, not it was super technical. So it was just a really hard race to start, and so I knew that. I was like, "Okay, like, we're just gonna
It's
go
gonna
and do
be
this
tough.
hilarious race." And, like, I went and scouted the course, and I was like, "Holy cow, this is gonna be so hard." Um, but I was like, "I'm here and, like, might as well," and I think I also just was such had such the underdog mentality of, like, I none of these people knew who I was, right? They're, like, probably thinking, like, it's some American, like, living abroad. Like, surely this girl didn't come from the US to race this, but here I am coming, and I also, like, I think I was really realistic with my goals. I remember telling Matt, I was like, I just wanted to be, like, top 30, which is so funny because there's probably, like, only 35 people in the race. Um, and yeah, and so I was like, top 30 would be great, top 20 would be, like, even better. And then, like, halfway through, my partner was out there and it was like a really cool flower course, so you kinda kept coming back up to the start on there's like 4 loops, and so you got to see people a lot, and I was like, "What place am I in?" He's like, "You're literally in 10th or 11th," or whatever it was, and I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "Okay, cool, like, I'm just gaming this now." And so that was, like, really fun, and then I think I placed 10th there and then had China the next week, which was, like okay, sprinkles on top. I already, like, got myself a 10th place finish in this Golden Trail series, and, like, that'll go far, for points, because at that point, the goal was just to make the final and be there at the final, and so then I was like, "China, like, sprinkles on top, let's just go see China now." And then China came, and I think, something that I was really strategic about too this year is, and that not everybody kind of understands, I think, from the outside, is Golden Trail really likes to, like, if you are part of it, you get to, like, travel around together and get all the housing together and meals. And if you're not part of it, like where I was, just kind of trying to gain an entry in with this, I had to do my own travel and all my own accommodation and meals and all that. And that was, like, I think, really helpful for me because I got to just zoom out and be like, okay, they're all going to do that. I'll show up back at the race start next week. And that was really helpful for me because I think by the time China had come, it was the same kind of group of athletes that were racing again. And I think a lot of them get caught up in, like, when you do travel together as a group of international professionals, I think there's some level of competition that comes outside of the competition, right? And so there's a lot of head games being played and a lot of, like, when they're going and scouting the course and running way too many miles with way too much vert the week before, I felt like I was just in my own lane over here doing my own thing. And so by the time China came, I actually felt a lot better about that race than I did about Japan, and I was able to work up to, I think, ninth in that one, and, had an arguably better race just, like, tactically, and then after that, my coach was like, sent me some choice language because he was basically like, "I didn't think you were that, like, much of a competitor," because between him and, like, I was, like, trying to fake it till I made it because I wasn't fit still. I just started running in January, and this was April, like, and you're starting at nothing and, like, going to these little races, and so he was like, "Holy shit, like, we gotta go and have some fun this year," and I was like, "Yeah, let's go back and get fit now," because that was, like, just trying to do something with nothing.
Well, and then so you came back from that, and then then did you have a bit of a break, and then was it Mexico? Was that the next one?
No, Sunapee, which
Sunapee was,
is,
oh my gosh, because that was May,
yeah, that was, yeah, so that
May-ish.
was April, then I went to China or Asia and then came back, trained through all of May, and then Sunapee was early June, and again, the reason that I went to Sunapee, and, like, I not saying this as, like, with any ego or with any, like, it's just I'm, like, being so honest with this. The reason, and my teammates know this, the reason why I went there was truly because Brooks was putting up a team house and they, like, highlighting that as, like, a team event, and so I was like, "I wanna go and be with the team." Also, I was, like, getting to know Anna and Sydney, and I knew that they had, like, a big shot to, like, go and make worlds. They had, like, really put that as their goal for the year. And so Sunapee was just, like, again, really low hanging fruit for me of, like, I'm just gonna go out here and have fun. Like, this course, when I reconned it the day before, when we ran it, like, 2 days before, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a million times easier than Japan and China." So, I had, like, 6 more weeks of fitness under my belt, and also, like, the mental hack of, like, going to the hardest race ever and then running that and thinking it's easy. And, yeah, and so we raced that day, and, I finished 4th, and I, like, that was really shocking, like, that was, I think I shocked everybody, I surprised myself, and I just ran, like, very within myself, and I think that was when the whole year started to, like, the gear started to, like, turn of, like, "Oh, okay, like, I think you're gonna be more than a participant this year, like, I think you're actually gonna be, like, we should reframe some goals here." So, yeah.
With the 4th place, that was not an automatic to Worlds, was it?
It was for the men and not for the women because Grayson had the automatic spot from being the world champion 2 years ago, and so it was decided that top 3 women at Sunapee would go automatically and then the top 4 men. So, yeah, that was interesting, and everybody came up to me and was like, "Such a bummer," and I was like, "Oh, I don't care," like, I didn't even have Worlds on my
Yeah,
schedule.
it's like you're not even thinking
Like,
about it,
Anna
yeah.
just won this race, it's amazing, and, like, I like yeah, I was, like, in a really at peace with it, and then I had got a text from Grayson, like, after, and was like, Grayson and I are really close, and so she was like, no better person to place fourth. She's like, "I'm gonna go and try to, like, make the other team and see where this year goes." And so then I was like, "Oh, interesting, okay," but still not placing any, like, hope or banking on anything to go to Worlds because I was, like, just here vibing and having fun still at that point.
Yeah. And then it's crazy because then that all ended up totally working out and everybody got to go hang out at Worlds. Well, I'm curious from Broken Arrow because you did get into it, but then decided not to do it. What was the thought there? Because I mean, like, I could imagine that was a little bit tough, especially since it's like one of those races that it's like everyone's at it. And so I imagine that there was some pressure just to like be there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like yeah, you're nailing on the head. It was a highly it was a highlighted event from not only, like, the entire US trail running, but Brooks also, really key event for them and wanted everybody there and had a house and all the stuff, and I had gotten in and not booked any travel yet because I was really, like, trying to think through if that was the right choice for me, and I had come off Sunapee and raced in Vail at GoPro Games right after, and then, Broken Arrow would have been, like, a couple weeks after that. And I, like, had started, I think, the Sunapee 4th and then, like, the GoPro wins, I think, really started like, I went through a reality check in June of, like, "Okay, I now have, like, some pretty solid results, and I'm starting to feel a little pressure, and I really wanna, like, check in with myself about that." I ended up, like, going on a camping trip and, like, being out of service for 2 days and went with 2 of my guy friends and just, like, kinda processed with them um, and came back from that and, like, made the decision of, like, I think it's best for me mentally to not go to Broken Arrow because if my goals for the year were not have pressure as expectation, I fear that this is going to, um I fear that it's gonna be hard like, I don't know if I'm strong enough right now to go to that and come out of it, like, in a way that's healthy for the
Yeah.
whole year. And I just had to be really honest with myself, and that's, like, was a really hard decision, and, looking to 2026, like, I really hope and I trust that I will be strong enough to be able to go there and in a totally different headspace, but I needed to remove myself from that, and it was really hard to not go. And I think the reality check kept coming of like then the races happened and I saw results and then like I had like this overwhelming emotions and feelings about it and yeah, and it was a really good reminder of like why are you doing this? Where's your headspace? Check back in. And then yeah, I mean, yeah, it was not easy. Like a lot of my close friends know it was like a little bit of a mid-year mental breakdown but like I think I came off of that putting myself in a good position for the rest of the year because I was like, okay, at this point I think I can race my way into the Golden Trail final, but that's not until October and we're still at June. And so I need to set
Well,
myself up
that's
to
the
like
nuts part. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's funny, I'm like even like usually I feel like I don't jump into races this much, but I just feel like the way that like your year has gone and paired with all of these races is just like so interesting.
yeah.
Because then Mexico, where how yeah, there's
So
Mexico.
so
Yeah.
that one was crazy because I wasn't signed up for it. I was signed up for the Australia Pitts Alpine race in Europe in August. And Broken Arrow happened. Oh, and then I came back from that and I realized, "Oh my gosh, Grayson has a shot at making the 50K team." And then I had to go back with Matt and be like, "Okay, if for some reason I get chosen to go to Worlds, how do we best set up the rest of the year?" And so then it was really about reorganizing different European trips to make sure I wasn't, like, in and out. So then we made the, like, literally last minute decision of, like, nix Austria, go and just secure your entry into the final in Mexico. I literally entered the race on Wednesday, booked a flight for, like, basically that day, flew to Mexico, raced Saturday or Sunday or whatever day it was, and, like, came back. And that was, like a crazy whirlwind of, like, decisions, and then I came back and was, like, really happy that I did that.
So then Worlds is a reality. And I feel like oh man, there's so many questions I have for you. But how was like I mean, I feel like it's fun too, because like with Brooks, it just seems like, especially like you, Sydney, and Anna all
Mhm,
getting to like be on the same team, and
mhm.
like your guys' friendship and like teammateship just seems like really unique in comparison to some of the other teams. So I'm just curious to like how, from like a team side of things, how were you guys kind of just like talking and communicating, and then you guys all ran around Colorado together and got to hang out and do fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooks does a really good job. Like, I'll back up a bit and say Brooks does a really great job at curating a really great group of humans, and they're like, very human first, and making sure the culture is like there before, specific performances and accolades. And so, like, I'll give them that for like the who they brought on this team for this year. And then we all had a team kickoff in Seattle in March, and it was crazy actually. Now that we think about this, Sydney, Anna, me, and Hillary all sharing a house. I mean, little did we
That's
know we were
wild.
all gonna end up at Worlds that year, which
That's
is
so cool. That is
crazy.
so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and we instantly it was, like, one of those moments where I was, like, kinda nervous going because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I'm new and I don't know anybody," and then, like, I left 4 days later with, like, 3 new best friends, I'm like, "Oh," but not the best friends where I'm like, "Oh, cool," like, I have new friends. It was like, "Oh, wait, like, these are actually going to be my friends, like, really good friends." And so we had, Sydney and Anna and I, had, like, a group chat that we started, and we were all looking forward to going to Sunapee together, and so then we shared a house at Sunapee, us 3, and then the boys team too, and that was also really fun. It was just, like, being silly and bonding and realizing how similar we were in a lot of ways, and how different we were in a lot of ways, but the differences, it all works really well together. And then I got to, witness Anna firsthand going and making her team at Sunapee, and then Sydney at Broken Arrow, and Hillary too. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it would be cool to go and be with all of them at Worlds. Ultimately I got the call and the invitation that I go do so. And I think then at that point, Anna, Sydney, and I realized, oh my gosh, we're now going to be spending a month in Europe together because we're all going to go to Worlds, all go to Golden Trail final.
Oh my
And
gosh,
then
yeah.
in the meantime, Tyler McCandless and Cam Smith had organized like a team camp in Buena Vista area in Colorado, for like the shorter, like the mountain teams for Worlds. And it was funny because the only 3 women that end up being able to go were me, Anna, and Sydney. So we had another weekend of just bonding. And I think we just like had all of these weekends, and these spaces provided to like really develop that friendship, deep friendship that like surpassed just being competitors, being teammates, all that. And I was listening to something the other day just about friendship and talking about how like true deep friendships require like X number of hours just existing together. And I have reflected on those 2 specifically in our, 3 a group of 3 friendship now. And, like, I have friends in Boulder that I see, once a week for, like, an hour run. And being able to exist with Sydney and Anna in, like, Airbnbs or hotels or whatever for all of those weekends, I think just, like, put us in a really great spot to then, I was roommates with Anna at Worlds, and Sydney obviously was with Taylor, but we spent, like, all of Worlds together and cheering everybody on. And then I think, like, the next level, like, just being with Anna after her 3rd place in the uphill was, like, so special because, like, I was trying to provide a space for her that, she didn't feel like I didn't wanna, like, be like, "Oh, are you ready to go win?" Because I thought she could podium. So I was just trying to, like, kinda play it cool, and she's over there, like, dialed in and whatever. And after placing 3rd, like, reflecting that night and just, like, giggling together until, like, 1 a.m. and just being silly and being like, "I knew you could do that," and she was like, "Oh," it's so funny. And then I think there was, like, a really cool moment where Sunday came. It was, like, finally my time to race, and she got to race again. And we just like, the way that we raced that whole race together, and that was just cool of, like, I she pulled me up some points, and I'm pulling her down some points, and, like, there's just so much that we both finished that race, and I think we both felt, like, slightly flat. She felt definitely more tired from the uphill, and we
Mm-hmm.
looked at each other and we were like, "We wouldn't have placed that high if we weren't with each other." Like, I think we both would've being honest with ourselves, like, kind of given up a little bit if there wasn't a team component. And so, like, I think that experience, like, racing that really, like, high stimulus, 75-minute crazy VO2 max redlining race together and, like, pulling each other through it, and, like and then we laugh about the final kick to the finish line where she outkicked me running, like, 3-minute pace, and I couldn't hang on and started throwing up at the finish line. Like, those are the moments where you become best friends with somebody, right? Like, you can't, like, tell me you can't go out and get that with somebody on a coffee date, in Boulder. Like, it takes you, like, yakking at the finish line in Confranc, Spain to get to that moment, So, that was just, like, so special, and then we just died in laughter about that for, like, the next 3 days.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like, even just, like, being there seeing that too, it's like I mean, I kind of loved watching I mean, it's funny because like, usually from a photo standpoint, it's like finish lines are boring. Like for the
Mhm,
most part, it's like, okay, it's not that great. You have a couple of people come through that like, at like any regular race where you have a couple of elites and might be ever so slightly emotional, but I think at Worlds it was like it was so
mhm,
different
mhm,
because it was Worlds, but like yeah, I think especially like watching the two of you finish, it's like you could just like see that there was
mhm,
like so much like you
mhm,
obviously have lived so much life together and like have a different
mhm.
kind of trust.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was cool to see.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean like yeah, it's wild just like how cool like you guys have all kind of been placed into each other's lives this year. And then cuz then Golden Trail, you're all together again.
Yep, so then we
And
all migrated to
yeah.
Italy together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then so like with Golden Trail finals, what was like you were in 11th in the series the before
Mhm,
finals, and then like the goal like when in the year did you kind of decide like I want to make top 10 in
mhm,
Golden Trail?
mhm. Yeah, I think after my 5th place finish in Mexico, that was like, "Oh, like, you can go and be top 10 in the series." Um, I think that was, like, a really cool goal to go for, and it's a cool accolade. It's like, those are, like that's, like, group of women and men that are, like to be on that list at the end of the year is, like, oh, like, really special because those are, like, the best people in the world in this style of racing. And so, yeah, I went into the final, I think actually ranked 12th, placed 10th in the prologue, moved up to 11th, and then had a really rough final. I got COVID 2 days before the prologue and was able to,
My
like
gosh.
yeah, I didn't really,
Okay,
like, share much about that because like, everyone
it's
gets
not worth it. Yeah, yeah.
but, yeah, fairly certain I got COVID, I mean, 2 days before. The body was able to handle the 45-minute prologue, but it just absolutely shut down on the 2.5-hour sky
Totally.
race that was the final. But, I mean, I knew that, like, every point mattered, and so if I could still displace some people and place, whatever I needed to in the final, then I could secure 10th. Again, given what was happening with the rest of the field, right? And so, like, we saw a handful of people actually fall out of the top 10 after the final, and then, like, 2 of us actually, me and another Brooks teammate from Italy, like, move into the top 10 after that, and so that was really cool to see, like, the movement of that. And I think it just speaks to, like, even with your off days, like, how consistent can you be? Like, my off day ended up being, like, 17th place. I got passed by, like, 5 people in the last 2 miles because I was walking it in, and, um yeah, but even with that, like, I was giving it my all to be like, "Just keep moving, like, just don't implode even further." And so I think it's cool, like, the series highlights consistency through the year.
Totally. Man, wild year.
Yeah, yeah.
What are some I mean, I imagine you're still just thinking over this, but like, I don't know, just some of the key takeaways that you have from this year. I mean, like looking at
Mhm.
January until now is, yeah, it's cool
Yeah,
and a very cool story.
yeah. I mean, I think my few key takeaways was, 1, like, you can always rewrite your story, like, your narrative is yours, and you're in control of that. And so if you wanna rewrite it and go after something else, like, you can go and do that. Like, the world's not telling you you're this. Like, you make your life what you want. And I think that was, like, a big, like, realization to me this year. And then, like, secondly, the it is also possible to race without nerves and anxiety, and I didn't believe that that was possible before. Like, I had so much performance anxiety and nerves that would, like, derail races in the past, and, like, I would basically got to the point where I would set myself up for every finish line I crossed would be a failure no matter what I did, you know? And so it's like, "Oh, okay, cool, you won, but you didn't get the course record," or whatever. Like, for me, like, setting realistic expectations and knowing, like, at the end of the day, I just wanna be able to try my hardest and compete and, like, play to my strengths and whatever it is, like, sets you up for success and then, like, keeps that, like, momentum keeps building because then you can be like, "Okay, there's nothing to be nervous about." Like, truly, yes, there are things out of your control, like getting COVID, falling on a rock, there are things there, but, like, there's a lot in your control, like, so control your mind, control your body, work hard, fight hard for every spot, yeah, so those are, like, my big takeaways, like, "Okay, cool, I can continue to do this without getting nervous, and I can continue to, like, own my narrative and make it what I want."
Mhm. Okay, I want a history on Wild Stride.
Mm. Yeah, so Grayson Murphy had started this stationery company back in actually, like, 2018 or 2019. I remember talking with her about it in the very new stages when it was being birthed, into the world, and we were living in Flagstaff. Actually, Rachel, Grayson, and I were all living in Flagstaff, and I remember getting, like, Grayson's, like, very first, um, training journal back then, and, just being a big fan of hers as she, like, started her own company and, did that thing, and it was amazing, and she ended up selling that company, basically, the stationery side got past ownership last year to somebody else, and we had all gone on, like, a training trip together last or I guess, yeah, last February, and we were all just, like, having fun and, like, bonding and basically, like, talking about, like, what should we how should we like, could we, like, create any fun ideas? Just, like, one of those, like, kinda think tanks, and Rachel and I had been working with another company as virtual coaches for 4 or 5 years at that point, and we were kind of ready to take it to the next level, and we had Rachel and I had always known we wanted to be our own bosses at some point and didn't wanna work under somebody with a in terms of coaching because I think coaching is something that like, those structures do work well of, like, you companies can get you a client, but then, you're working under a coach and they're taking a cut and all that, and I think we just felt like we had enough experience to, like, make it our own and also, like, we wanted to, like, improve on some processes that we felt were, like, just outdated or stuff that felt like, be more aligned to how we are and what we want with our athletes, and so we basically just, like, all got together and we're like, "Do we wanna start a coaching company?" And just, like, ran with it from there, and it was cool to be able to do that, like, at under the Wild Strides umbrella, and so, like, Wild Strides still exist with the stationary side, and then now this coaching collective side, and it's really cool because, we serve to fill a niche of, all-terrain individuals, athletes, primarily women, like, we are an all-women company, and so usually a lot of our athletes are women, but, the all-terrain athlete that wants to run Boston Marathon, but also wants to run Javelina 100K or go do UTMB, like, all like, I think there's, like, a change of the times where it's like you historically used to be trail runner or, like, marathoner or, like, ultra runner, just that, and now Rachel, Grayson, and I have all had experience representing the US on the trail and the track, and so at that time, we were like, "What other group of individuals could you put together that have worn the US kit on trail and track?" Like, it's really special that we have this experience and this knowledge, and so let's, like, try to find those people that wanna do it all and to say, like, "We're the unicorns in the sport, and we want you to know that you can also be a unicorn." So, it's been really cool to see who we've been working with, and it's, like, true, like, we set that intention to, like, aim at that group of athletes, and all of our athletes are basically that, I have athletes that are coming off of Mammoth Trail Fest and now training for CIM, and that's, like, really rad and cool, and just, like, wanna go out there and change the narrative of, like, you don't have to be one type of runner, you can do it all, because ultimately, at the end of the day, like, don't you wanna be, like, the best version of yourself and, like, what jazzes you up. Okay, go do those things. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool too, because it's like you guys are all the perfect like person to look for to that too of like,
Mhm.
hey, like this isn't something that's like weird. Like we're all doing it and like we've all done it really successfully. So you're the perfect people to, yeah, be doing it and filling that niche.
Yeah, it's really cool. We have like big ideas too of 2026 and beyond of maybe, maybe hosting some in-person stuff and moving into that realm, which is really exciting too. So, who knows what the future holds for us, but it's a good group of people to work with, so.
Well, and it's just a really cool thing to, I mean, A, kind of like have your own business and just like be able to have a space where you can make all of your ideals actually come to life.
Mhm.
I think like that's one of the most like exciting things about that of just like, yeah, you don't have to be checking in with some, I mean, like you guys are checking in with each other, but like it's like, hey, we have
Mhm.
this idea, we want to do this, and then it can happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
cool stuff about doing it your own. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work, but there's a lot of creativity that you can harness.
Okay, wrapping up a bit. What are like two things that you're excited about for like your slightly off season?
Mm, yes. Hosting more? I yeah, like, I really want to continue to find kinda, like, my core group of friends here and also just, like, connect people. Um, yeah, like, I think I'm when I'm away, I worry, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not being a good friend and not being in town and whatever," and now I'm here through December at least, and just really looking forward to like making more connections with people and deepening my friendships. And for instance, like this morning, like I already feel it like happening. I went on a run with Rachel. Actually just moved to Boulder, which is really
Oh,
exciting.
fun.
And so I went on a run with Rachel, Lauren Gregory, Bailey Kowalczyk, and Ali Ostrander. And it's just like, that's a great group of
That's just
women.
fun.
And like,
Yeah.
that's my easy run that I just gonna meet with them and we all live within 15 minutes of each other. Like, that's awesome. So, doing more stuff like that, the friend collabs. And then this is not necessarily like off season, but I have decided to do a baby cross country season in December and January. And so like shifting running and training from like mountains and long days with vert and all that stuff to like fast flat road grass running. Like, I'm just really intrigued to see how my body will respond to that. Like, I have, again, no expectations, and I'm just gonna get clobbered by these, like, trackies. But I'm excited to, like, do that, and I think it's just a fun, refreshing, like, way to, like, stay fit and stay sharp while still being, like, in off season. Like, it's not gonna feel like another Golden Trail race or whatever. Like, it's just gonna feel really fun and refreshing, and I'm in the works of putting together a trail team of women for US Club Cross, which is in January. And that is like a team-based cross country race. Um, and so, I pitched it to my girls this morning of like, I mean, a bunch of them want to do it. Being like, how cool would it be to get like 5 to 7 women that race on the trails and like put us in cross country and like we're all fast. Like Lauren
Yeah.
Gregory, like, come on, she's like
Fast.
so
So
fast.
fast. Yeah.
And just like kind of see how we stack up against all the roadies. So yeah, that's something I'm really excited about.
You need jerseys.
No, I
Like,
know you have to actually match. Like the
they're
one,
so fun.
I know. So the one like slightly annoying thing is like, oh, we all have different sponsors, and the like online USATF is like you have to be matching. It's like, okay, I guess we'll just like wear like plain white tees or something. I don't
Yeah, you
know.
need like plain white tees that you could like throw, I don't know, or like, yeah, I don't know. You
Like go get
could,
a Target fit or
there's
something.
something, yeah, something could be done with that for sure. Okay, is there anything else that you want to leave people with today?
Oh gosh, no, I feel like I already said all my little bits of wisdom in there. You already asked so much and yeah, this was really fun. I really appreciate you taking the time
I know,
to.
this is super, super fun. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I have all of Courtney's links attached in the episode description. If you want to stay tuned with all things Wander, we're Wander Studios on Instagram. There's quite a few exciting things coming up. And yeah, listen to more. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you could rate us on Spotify or wherever it is that you're listening, that would be amazing. Those reviews go a long way for us as a small podcast. Hope that everybody has a lovely rest of their week.